Mario, welcome. We've got Mario and Maria today on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Maria, for having me. It's always a huge pleasure for me. I did this many times already, but it's always a pleasure to talk about this, to share this story because there is so much we don't understand about water. People
hmm
consider water as just this, element that is abundant on the planet, but there are worlds, literally worlds hidden in it.
I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because, for my listeners to understand, I was a listener of you on a podcast that I listened to a lot almost 30 years ago. And I remember listening to their conversation with you on this concept of live water, coherent water. And I remember at the time being like, whoa, this is a concept that's almost too far out there for me. I don't see how it would relate to plants. I didn't connect the dots, but for some reason that conversation has really stuck in the back of my head and I've thought about it for a long time. And now as my curiosities have expanded beyond houseplants and plants in pots, but nature and how we are nature and how we can use nature to connect. Water is such a huge element in nature. And this conversation with you today feels like a huge manifestation and accumulation of a lot of my personal growth and curiosity as well. So I want to start off just asking you for our listeners, what is water? What is coherent water and what is uncoherent water? And what are the states of water that we're experiencing right now?
That's a really big question, even
It's a
if
big question.
yeah, it doesn't sound that way. But just so you know, this whole project is 17 years in the making. It's 50 plus scientists over three continents.
Mm,
In our research, we realized that water currently exists in what we call a chaotic state. So
right,
it's still H2O,
right.
but it's how H2O molecules within water behave.
Okay.
So in regular water, basically anywhere, tap water, any water that you can imagine, and we tested waters from like really almost every single piece of the earth.
hmm
H2O molecules move randomly. They crash into each other constantly. But since all of this is happening on an atomic level, nobody is really aware of that. This chaos has a profound effect on our health and wellness, even though we're completely unaware of this. But there is a way. I would say that this is the most natural state of water. Unfortunately, we only managed to find the water in that pristine, this original state, only very remote outside of civilization,
Mm-hmm.
where water molecules are bound together. They're actually in a state of unison.
Mm.
So all molecules move together. They're not chaotic. They're not moving randomly. They're not crashing each other. There is harmony within water. When we drink that water, when you water plants, what any biological system you expose to this water, it actually thrives. And we tested it through many double blind placebo controlled human trials. We tested it through many plant trials. We tested it on animals. We tested it on soil.
Mm.
And we saw extraordinary results. This is the way, at least we believe, water was intended to be by nature. Why it actually kind of went into chaos, I can't really say. We can speculate whether it's environmental toxins or the EMFs or whatever is out there that through water. And we were the first scientists to prove that if you take a glass of water and put it next to Wi-Fi router, EMFs are going to really dramatically push water into chaos.
Hmm.
And there are these natural harmonics in everything, everywhere in nature. And when you bring water back into this extraordinary, beautiful state, it has such an extraordinary effect on health and wellness of
Yeah.
literally any biological system.
The more you read about it, the more fascinating it is. And so, am I correct to say in the beginning, when Earth was untouched by humans, when Earth, in its natural state, water was coherent or these molecules were moving together in harmony? I'm a musician, so I love the idea of using the word harmony. And
Exactly.
as society, the Earth, civilizations have increased, adding Wi Fi, adding all of these crazy things, the molecules, it's still water, we're still drinking it, but the molecules are moving differently and they're
Exactly.
chaotic instead of in harmony. So dissonant, I guess, instead of in harmony together. And
Exactly.
And what's been fascinating to me about Analemma, as I've watched you guys in the last couple of years, is this real devotion to figuring out how to bring water back to its harmonization and also the studies. So, coherent water, if people have heard about it, you've heard about this either coherent water or structured water. So, what are the differences, just so we have a really good base understanding of what we're talking about? So I guess there's unstructured, this chaotic water, structured, coherent. Kind of break down all those definitions for us.
So, as I mentioned, all the water, even if it's a bottled water or tap water or any kind of water that people, I would say 99.9% people can actually get their hands on, it's chaotic. And there is a particular way how water molecules can come together. So there are various structures. That's why people started calling it structured water. And there are some devices, for instance, if you vortex the water molecules are going to start linking and creating a structure. But the problem with that, we actually tested, I would say, almost all of the technology that creates some sort of a structured water. It actually happens. Water starts to kind of come into some form of unison of structure, but it stays there between a couple of minutes and day and a half tops. Then the water molecules break and the water again goes back to chaos. With Analemma, that actually doesn't happen. It takes us 1 full year to create our technology. And once you use it on the water, just once, we tested it now for 7 consecutive years. After just one treatment, it never goes back to chaos. Whatever you do to it, we actually radiated it. We did all kinds of things that usually severely push water into chaos. This particular structure, that's why we're not even calling it structured. We call it full spectrum coherent water, because those water molecules are so resilient that they stay in this very particular, extraordinarily beautiful state.
Yeah, what does it look like?
I would say, there are these coherent fields that start to emerge. So it's not just even one molecule to another. There is just this extraordinary organization that happens within the water. I always like to explain this to people in a very plastic way so they can kind of at least imagine
Please.
it. If you take a 5-watt light bulb, it will give you some light. But if you take 5-watt laser, which is a coherent form of light, so it's the same power, okay? But it's focused, it's structured, it's coherent. You can drill a hole through your table. It has such a power. So it's same light, but one is dispersed and the other one is concentrated. And this is exactly what happens with water. Let's say that in chaotic water, or basically any other water that people use, it's dispersed. There is no power to it. And we can go into studies because we used regular water as a control in all of our studies. And you can clearly see the difference in every single study, whether we did plant study or human study. So there is a great difference when water enters into this very particular state. That's where true power of water is being unleashed. I would even say, just like you mentioned a bit earlier, or I don't know, is the water becomes alive. It enters into the state it's supposed to be.
Its most natural way. And
Most natural.
I think so many people who listen to this podcast, myself included, are in this exploration of, I know that I'm living in a house, I just did an episode on grounding and earthing. I know I'm living in a house that I'm not accessing the electrons of the earth. I know I have a TV. I'm not giving up my Wi-Fi. I'm not giving up my TV. I'm not giving up the modern conveniences of life. And I'm very curious to figure out, knowing that my body is nature and that I feel more connected to nature, how can I flood more of nature into my life and this natural, alive, pure state? That's also like the word pure keeps coming up for me as you're speaking, this like pure essential state. I noticed on your website, you guys talked a little bit about fractals. We talk a lot about fractals when it comes to plants. So how do fractals play into this coherent water state?
Everything in nature has sacred geometry to it. Everything. And I love that you actually talk about this because this is at the very heart of it. Nikola Tesla, I would say, the greatest scientist of all time. He said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And this is directly connected to the sacred geometry. This is where everything comes together. If you resonate in particular frequency, then I would say certain hidden processes start to be triggered. That's where why the water is so important there. In our research, we realized that water is a broadband absorber, receiver, and transmitter of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Okay.
And therefore is at the very heart of life. What people don't understand also is we've learned that 70% of our body is water. Even that is like huge. You would say like up to here, I'm just water. But from the molecular point of view, 99% of all of our molecules are water.
Crazy.
We only have 1% of heavy molecules that are other than water. When you look at it, we're basically very clever H2O.
I love that reframe. That's so real.
And that's why the water we drink, the water we are exposed to, plays a crucial, this is the most fundamental level of our existence. If you change that, you have a powerful effect. And this is what we proved in our studies. When you change the water, short term, mid-term, long term, everything changes because this is the most fundamental level of who we are.
Yeah.
And water, this is also very, very important, as I mentioned, water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment. We are water. So it actually tells you if you are exposed to something negative, that energy actually remains within you. If you're exposed to something positive, that energy remains within you. What you're sending out to somebody stays within that someone. We proved it in our research. I mean, you've probably heard about Dr. Masaru Emoto, Japanese scientist. He was one of the pioneers. He actually literally explained why we need to be kind to one another. Because the energy you send in any form actually stays in this other person or even plant. Your listeners are plant lovers. If you express love to your plant every single day, if you care for it, it will thrive even in challenging environments and situations. That's why it's so important. And what is the key element? Water.
Water, baby. So let's talk about that for a minute, because I've heard, even in like the last 2 weeks, I've had 4 people tell me, well, you know, water holds memory.
Exactly.
Water holds things. So what does that mean when you're saying water holds the frequency of kindness? Water holds the like, talk to me about these studies, break this down, because it's one thing to hear someone say it. It's another thing to like really understand the trueness of that statement. So can we dive in there a little bit?
Okay, we can. I'm going to touch upon first a couple of studies that Dr. Masaru Emoto did, which I really love because they're very kind of you can really see it with your eyes. The other person that I love, I don't know, have you heard? You can actually get her on your podcast. It's Veda Austin. I
haven't heard of her.
She is actually a person now, and she studies water in such amazing ways. If you can imagine, she just takes a petri dish of water and she just takes a photo and puts it underneath the petri dish. And the water copies the message that is on the photo inside. When you can see it, you can photograph it every single time. It will blow your mind. This is something that she did. For instance, you have to see it to believe it.
That's what it sounds like.
You have to see it to believe it because it's kind of crazy to say she actually did, of course, an experiment with Analemma. We didn't have contact her or we didn't have any collaboration with her. But since she's so into water, she actually acquired the wand. She made the water coherent. And there is this extraordinarily beautiful, huge crystal that appeared in the water in the petri dish. So this just tells you how organized and beautiful. This is one way she has use this fast freeze method because when you put the water inside a coherent state and then she fast freeze it, then you have this beautiful, beautiful crystal that appears. And if it's just regular tap water, it's completely broken down and incoherent. And you can use before and after. So this is something that basically almost anybody can test for themselves. But anyhow, maybe we can jump into some plant studies that we did early on.
Yeah, I would love that.
Cool. So we actually picked up a whole lab in the beginning, 17 years ago, from a famous German scientist, Dr. Fritz Albert Popp. He developed this technology that can capture biophotons. So every living system exudes these tiny particles of light called biophotons. The more biophotons a biological system exudes, the more vitality it has. It's actually light. It's so interesting how we are light beings. Every single living thing exudes a light. Literally, we are exuding sunshine in a way. But you have to have very delicate and very sophisticated technology to capture every single one. So we acquired all that technology, and very soon into our research, we made kind of watered with regular water and water with Analemma water and wanted to see what happens. And for instance, tomatoes, they were grown with Analemma water. They exude up to 200% more light than tomatoes that were grown with regular water.
So the tomato, the fruit, or
The
the plant,
tomato,
the
the
leaf,
fruit,
like
the
what's
tomato, the fruit.
exuding more light? Okay.
We did actually plants in and of themselves, but with tomatoes, and we actually did the cherry tomatoes in
Okay.
particular. And because you have to have a small enough at that time fruit to actually use the whole technology to capture every single biophoton. But this was one of the first experiments where we saw, okay, there is something biologically remarkable happening here.
Mm.
Interestingly, people usually, when you have your own gardens, people talk about yield and how life explodes. Interestingly, one person who actually inherited the greenhouse where we did all of our experiments, he continued to use our water. And there is this type of cucumber that gives fruit between 10 and 12 weeks in a year. This person, after 3 years, started growing the same type of cucumber for 24 weeks in a year.
That's fascinating because cucumbers are all water. I mean that fruit or that is it a vegetable or fruit? That plant in itself is all water, so that makes so much sense.
It actually works on every single vegetable and fruit, but we kind of picked those especially for those reasons. We used tomatoes and cucumbers because they consist of so much water inside. But these are the little things that we kind of play to see really extraordinary dramatic results. In terms of one study that we did, actually we wanted this study is actually going to be published very soon in tier 1 scientific magazine because it's really fascinating. We took basil plants and we watered some with regular water and some with Analemma water. Then we created a short-term drought to create a stressor,
Okay.
and then we let the plants recover. And we use this latest fluorescence-based technology. There are actually only 2 labs in all of Europe that has this very particular technology that uses the scanner to collect a mountain of data on what happens within the plant on a molecular level.
Okay.
And we were testing over 30 markers, like how the plant is using water to cool itself, how it's using the light in the photosynthesis, how efficiently it's doing it, chlorophyll, and how the changes in this pigment actually happen and the implications of that. In almost every single marker, we had more than significant improvements in the plant itself. And interestingly, this whole experiment came from my own personal experience. I actually have a summer house where I left one basil plant for a couple of weeks because, or it was, no, it was 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, a couple of weeks. And it was very, very, very hot and I couldn't water it. I just went. And basil is a very, very, very delicate plant.
Tender. She's a
Yeah,
diva. Yeah.
exactly. And with that much heat and zero water, usually they just shrivel down.
Okay.
When I came back, it was like nothing touched it. And then we actually did our own first pilot where we actually watered with regular water and with Analemma water. We repeated the same experiment, and the one that was watered with regular water completely shriveled down in that time under that stressor. But the one watered with Analemma water, nothing. It was just vibrant. And then we decided, okay, let's do a proper study with this. And the results are very, 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 very repeatable. And we're getting hundreds and hundreds of letters from people all over the planet using with their flowers or plants or gardens. We actually even have an agriculture unit because agriculture companies started to notice the extraordinary benefit in plants' resilience to any kind of stress, whether it's flood, whether it's
Yeah.
heat, any form of stressor. The plant is much, much more resilient and can produce fruit even though it's under challenging conditions. And this is what the world needs now.
I was just going to say, with global warming what farmers and home gardeners are experiencing with the volatile climates that we're all living in and the shifting garden zones, that is fascinating. Have you had any studies with houseplants, indoor plants yet?
No, we actually went with tomatoes, with the cucumbers, and with the basil plants. But one study that is really going to be also interesting, very interesting, at least, I'm super passionate about this, so I just going to share it, is there is a huge problem all over the planet with the soil.
Right, that was my next question.
The quality of soil is terrible, especially, our whole technology is being manufactured in the Netherlands. And Netherlands is like 98% of all agricultural land is being cultured. And they're using a lot of glyphosate and all of the toxins, which literally destroy the ability of soil to produce anything. And we actually took really completely destroyed, barren piece of soil. You couldn't grow anything on it for 100 years. It was really dead. And what we did is we watered one chunk of it with regular water and one chunk with Analemma water, and we monitored what happens on a molecular level in the soil. And the part that was watered with regular water basically stayed the same. So we saw zero change. It was still dead. You couldn't grow anything on it. But the part that was watered with Analemma water, there were this explosion in biodiversity of the microbiome. There are these colonies of bacteria that started to show up all of a sudden. Within only 2 months, total nitrogen in soil increased dramatically. Whole nitrogen cycle increased dramatically. More importantly, usually when the rain falls, all the nutrients go to deeper layer of the soil. But when you water the soil with Analemma water, there is a huge retainment of all of those nutrients and minerals in the top layer of the soil where the plant can actually use it. That's why we saw, the nutrient density in plants. That's why we saw that the plant changes in every level you can imagine. So it's not just that it's resistant to stress. Everything about it changes. And you know what's also interesting? All of these bacteria in the soil, they started to show up. They started to suck the CO2 out of the atmosphere into the soil.
Wow. That's fascinating because soil is a huge conversation right now, right? In the States, all of the soil that's been completely ripped of its nutrients with previous farming methods. And everybody talks about compost. No one's talking about water. Like, it's so simple. It's so much simpler. I mean, I think you also need the compost and the nutrients, but it is so interesting to me that we are 99.9% water. Everything is made up of water. The foods we eat, everything is water. And it is probably the most ignored thing. Even as humans, we're constantly dehydrated. We're drinking coffee instead of water. We're not even drinking enough chaotic water to feel good, right? Let alone paying attention to the water that we're putting in our bodies. And so much of our tap water, I live in an area where I cannot drink my tap water because there's so much weird shit in it. This is so fascinating.
And I have to, now you actually touched upon a really important topic. Since I mentioned that water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment. So people usually, when they talk about drinking water or tap water, I'm filtering it. Even if you physically take the toxin out, the frequency or the information of that toxin is still in the water. So you filter the water, you drink it, you're still introducing that particular information. This is where an Analemma actually shines, because electromagnetically, it takes out the information of that particular toxin out, and it puts the water in the optimum electromagnetic state. This water actually is an electromagnetic phenomenon.
You know what an Etch-a-Sketch is?
No?
It's okay. It's like this silly toy that kids grow up with, but it's like if you make a crazy drawing in the sand and then you wipe the sand clean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Kind of like that?
Yeah. But not only that, it's not only kind of making the clean slate. It puts the water molecules in an optimum structure or state. Like, if you remember radios back in the day, they were all crystal based.
Yeah.
That's why this water is actually it's in a liquid crystalline state. So it's positioned that it receives the optimum information from its environment. And now I'm going to tell you the study that really blew my mind.
Okay.
And this is the study that truly kind of, for me and everyone else in the team, they realized how and why this water is so important. We do all of the other studies, and then you'll see we're going to go into how this water increases your entire mitochondrial energy and the NAD levels and the microbiome and the brainwave, all of it. So we're going to go into that. But this study is what I truly believe why Analemma water is so important in this very point in time. So we actually did, it was early on, in the first couple of years of our research, we actually watered seeds. So seed, this tiny, tiny piece of life, we watered some with regular water and some with Analemma water, and we monitored biophoton emissions to see whether something is going to happen. Seeds that were watered with regular water, we really saw nothing special. Everything kind of remained the same. But almost as soon as we started to water seeds with Analemma water, there was a huge change. What we saw, this sinusoidal shape, these peaks and valleys of biophoton emission. It was like, what happened here? It's like it started to breathe light in and out in a very long form. And this was almost imminent. And then we couldn't figure out, and we connected to other scientists to kind of really figure out what is happening there. And after a while, we realized that it started to follow the tides. So Analemma water connected this tiny, tiny piece of life to the circadian rhythm of nature. It connected it electromagnetically to its relevant environment. It connects you to Mother Earth.
And the moon.
And the moon, exactly that. So you are literally becoming, that's why we call this water conscious water at sometimes, because it connects you not only within yourself, because we're going to touch that as well. So you become connected within yourself, but you become connected to nature.
Yeah.
You are one with it. You're no longer a separate entity. You are one with the planet, one with the stars, if you're going to say in the much larger sense, because all of this is, everything is electromagnetic in nature. And this connects you in that way. And you can imagine how simple a seed is, what kind of simple life form it is, and how complex life form we are. And when you drink Analemma water, how it connects you electromagnetically.
Yeah.
Well, now is actually a good point to jump into our first human study.
Yeah, when you drink. Yeah, so because this is where you focused on the podcast that I listened to, which was more, how it affects the human body, which is fascinating. I'm like, but no, tell me more about the seeds. But yes, also it's very interesting for the human body. So yeah.
When we realized that this water is an electromagnetic phenomenon and we saw all of these effects, we were thinking, okay, what's the most electromagnetic part of human biology that we can very accurately, scientifically measure? And it's our brainwaves. It's very easy. You just put QEEG equipment on someone's head and you can monitor their brainwaves and patterns and everything that happens there. So what we did, we actually did a gold standard study, which was a double-blind study, which included genetically identical twins.
Cool. Okay.
So this was a perfect study from that perspective because you have two genetically identical people and what happens to one needs to happen to another because they're genetically identical. This is the way it works. And it was a double blind, so doctor administering the water didn't know which one was which. Twins didn't know which one was which. We just gave them a glass of water to drink. They had QEEG equipment on their heads and we monitored their brain waves in real time. So when the twin that took a couple of sips of regular water, as you would expect, we saw really nothing happening. Zero change. So brainwave patterns, everything stayed the same. Almost as soon, we were actually super surprised how fast it happened. Almost as soon as the twin that took a couple of sips of Analemma water, we saw almost instant better connection between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain, and almost instant harmonizing effect on the brainwaves. This was really powerful to observe, and it was so fast. And this was first powerful evidence, okay, something, again, biologically remarkable happens when people drink this water. It's super fast. We repeated the experiments 3 weeks later, where we, again, double blind, but we gave Analemma water to the other twin.
Okay.
And we saw exactly the same phenomenon while the first now twin, while now the twin that in the first experiment drank Analemma water, drank regular water, and again, it was zero.
Wow.
When you observe something like this, you cannot ignore it. I mean, it's really something to kind of, okay, there is something happening here, really kind of tangible and powerful and measurable through standard scientific methods.
Yeah, because I'm a skeptic when it comes to this, right? Like, even when I listened to your interview on Almost 30, I was like, this is fascinating, but like, still, this just doesn't feel real. It's almost too good to be true, right? And so I think it's so awesome that you guys have spent so much time and invested so much on these studies because, yeah, you're telling me the story about the study. How do you ignore that? Like, how do you say, how are you a skeptic when you hear results like that? Are there other studies like that you want to show? So,
Totally, but I want to say one thing, which is I totally love that you just mentioned as a skeptic. I went to Dr. Mindy Peltz's podcast. I love her.
mhm.
She's amazing. And anyhow, her sister, who is also very accomplished, I think she has a doctorate at Stanford, Harvard, I don't know. But she saw Mindy swirling and like, what are you doing? Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? What is this? She was super skeptical. And then Mindy kind of said, okay, let's do a blind taste test. Okay, let's do that because you have water, you take it from the tap or whatever, and you taste it, and it was blind. So because they were both kind of doctors, they did it the right way.
Mhm.
And her sister, who was super skeptical, 5 times in a row, she said, "This is the unknown water. How is this happening?" She couldn't wrap her mind around it. How can you take this wand and you swirl it through and it changes the taste of the water so powerfully that she
Right.
cannot miss it, which water is which?
And is
So
it the taste or is it the energetic essence
I would
that
say
your
that it's
body
energetic. Yeah, thank you for
is
that. At
attracted
least,
to?
yeah, this is how I interpret it, I would
Yeah.
say, because it's so fast, your whole body recognizes it and it manifests as the change in taste. I don't know. This is again, I don't have any. This is just my subjective kind of
Right.
opinion. I can also taste the difference, but people usually this is something very subjectively they kind of can notice because it's very hard to kind of okay my brain waves changed,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this is something everyone, almost everyone, I would say 95% of people, they just see the difference in taste. Okay, something is different with this water. And this is the fastest. Then we did, all these other tests, double blind, placebo controlled. And maybe we can touch that. Actually, there's one study which kind of involved the plant thing, so I'm going to share that. So we did actually biological age test. It's
Hmm.
glycan age. These are the leaders. These guys are leaders in
Yeah.
glycoscience. So they have over 120 published scientific works in the science of glycans.
Hmm.
Through the state of glycans, you can very, very accurately, let's say, determine the health of your entire system, the health of your immune system. You have this pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory glycans through which you can very accurately determine what is the level of inflammation in your body. And not only that, you can actually pretty accurately project what's going to happen down the line. And when they created all of this science and all of these studies, they were thinking, okay, how we can make this available to people so they can have a measurable, let's say, a number, so to
Mm.
speak. Then they said, let's go and do a biological age test. To cut the long story short, we had 30 participants in the study. They actually we did a glycan age test before. Then they drank 1.5 liters of Analemma water per day without changing anything else in the world. They didn't change their diets, exercise regime, nothing. Everything else stayed the same except the water. And then 3 months later, we did another test to see what happened. And almost every single person in the study experienced between 1 and 12 years of biological age rejuvenation. Now, connection to the plants.
Hmm.
So we told all the participants because we realized that water loves the sun. That's why we actually call the product, we call the whole thing Analemma. Analemma is actually the power symbol of the sun. We realized that water changes electromagnetically every single day due to position of the earth towards the sun.
Hmm.
If you would take a picture of the sun from one point of the earth for 365 days, you're going to get this infinity sign in the
Right.
sky. And this infinity sign is actually what's called the analemma.
Hmm.
Anyhow, we told the people to expose their analemma to the sun because, water loves the sun and we want to kind of, it's a living thing, it's an intelligent thing. Even people don't figure it that way, but we told the people in the study, just expose your analemma to the sun. And this lady, actually, she has a very kind of small, very small garden of very short plants. And she put her analemma at the same spot every single day for a month. And she actually sent me the photo of that garden. It's like you drew a circle around the analemma. All of the plants there within, let's say, I don't know, 10 centimeters or so, grew inch and a half taller than anywhere else in the garden.
When you're saying analemma, are you meaning the wand? She put her
The
wand in the
wand. The
garden?
wand, just the
Okay.
wand. So it's not
Not
even
the
the
water.
water. She
Okay.
just placed the wand to expose it to the sun. And that's what I'm saying. It's very, these are
Got
short,
it.
short plants so that analemma can be exposed to the sun. But it's interesting. It's just like you drew a circle.
Because the analemma is basically making all of the water that's in the soil coherent
Exactly.
near it. I want
So
to try that. That's so cool.
please do, because it's really, really remarkable. And you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. When she sent
100%.
me the picture, it was like,
Yeah.
man, it's really kind of something that you really can see. It's so tangible.
Yeah.
Everything that is alive has water, and water is the most fundamental level. So when you have water that is placed in this optimum extraordinary state, and water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment,
Hmm.
if you have it close by, either you drink it or you're exposed to it, life just thrives.
Life just thrives. So we don't have to go into the other studies, but I am curious for the listeners to know. So if they want to go read more on the website, what are the other impacts on the human body that you guys have found through
Okay.
humans drinking coherent water
Yeah.
instead of chaotic water?
So we did a double-blind placebo-controlled study that measures ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the primary energy currency of the cell. It's directly responsible for powering the majority of cellular processes inside of our body, including muscle contraction, nerve impulse transmission, biochemical reactions, basically every heartbeat, every breath, every muscle contraction, every cognitive function depends on ATP. People with higher ATP levels have much better cognitive performance, have much better physical endurance. Basically, every single system in your body works better if you have high levels of ATP. We did, as I mentioned, double-blind placebo-controlled study, which is actually going to be published very soon, where we proved that just by drinking the water, your entire mitochondrial energy of the body increases 20% over the placebo. When you calculate the placebo, that's 1/3. And we're not talking about Red Bull energy here. We're talking about actual energy. If you give your body a couple of percent more, it will
Right.
do magic. But if you give
There's
it
no
one
crash.
third, 33% more energy, you are going to feel that.
Wow. And the results are coming from drinking how much analemma
Liter
water
and a
every
half.
day?
We always did liter and a half. We
Okay.
just decided liter and a half. I believe it could be achieved with less water than that, but I'm just saying how we constructed the study. In
Okay.
all of our studies, people were drinking liter and a half of lemon water per day.
Okay. Yes.
The next study we did, everybody in the last couple of years are talking about NAD, and rightly so.
Hmm.
So that's why we did NAD is like it's the fountain of youth in human body. It's like the molecule that is responsible for so much. High levels of NAD are not only connected to longer lifespan, it's connected to longer health span.
Hmm.
Why? Because NAD, it triggers the sirtuins, which are these enzymes that repair the damaged DNA. There are some. It really has an overarching effect on basically any system inside of the body. So we wanted to test that. Again, it was a double-blind placebo-controlled study where people were drinking liter and a half of NLM water per day without changing again anything else in their world. They didn't change their diets, exercise regime, everything else stayed the same. And again, we had more than significant rise in NAD levels just by drinking.
So I've listened to this episode. I'm sold on coherent water. I'm ready to try it with my plants. I'm ready to try it with my body. How do I make my water coherent? Like, how do I do this?
This is what it actually really gets interesting. Since water, now I'm going to explain how it works because it really is fascinating and it's so elegant.
Yeah,
How nature is always elegant. Nature is always simple. Everything else is
absolutely.
complicated.
Well
So
said.
when we realized that water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment, our whole quest was to how can we create the most dominant positive frequency water there is? Because we
Hmm.
knew, since water always picks up the most dominant frequency, if we would expose any other water to it, all the water will become
Mm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So we created what we now call the mother water. It takes us 1 full year to create the mother water. And then we take the mother water and we put it inside a crystal vial. So this crystal has twofold purposes. Of course, first to create the barrier between the mother water and the water inside the glass. But more importantly, crystal serves as a superconductor. We actually tested it with regular glass, and the frequency is not passing in the most efficient way. But with crystal, it actually passes almost with no loss. So in an effect, it's like there is a barrier, but like it's not. So in an effect, when you take the analemma and you start swirling through a glass of water, any H2O molecule that comes into close proximity to the mother water, it starts to mimic its exact state and structure.
Because the mother water is the strongest. So it
Exactly.
takes on the mother water's
It takes
imprint.
on the mother water. And in an effect, after 30 seconds, if it's 2 deciliter glass, of course, for a larger body of water, you need to swirl more. But for, let's say, for just a cup of water, after 30 seconds, you actually, in an effect, get a glass of mother.
So it's only 30. So you take this wand. I have my glass of water. I swirl the wand in the water for 30 seconds. And boom, I have coherent water in my drinking water.
Exactly. And that's the water we tested so many times. That's the water people drank in all of our studies. It's very simple. And what I actually mentioned, I'm going to just come back to it because it is super important. After just one treatment, now for 7 consecutive years we tested it, it never went back to chaos.
So if I get a big jug of water that I keep in my fridge and I swirl it for 30 seconds once, I can keep that jug in my fridge for a month. And in a
It
month,
will
when I
be in the
pour,
coherent, but if it's a big jug, then you have to swirl it for more than 30 seconds. That's the
okay.
only difference. But yes,
But yes,
you can
after the
keep it. And
swirling.
we actually, the water we actually treated just 7 years ago, and every single year we are retesting it to see whether it stays in
Wow.
coherent state. And so it's the same water. And for 7 consecutive years now, never, not for a second, it actually went out of the state of coherence. Now I actually want to, if we have at least 5 more minutes, I really want to say something which is really important.
Yeah, please.
One experiment which people aren't really aware of that, and we are one of the scientists that really realized this. So we took rainwater and we radiated it close range. So it was a powerful, it's not the regular 5G, but let's say that we increased it more than sufficiently. We radiated the rainwater and then we used that water to water the plants. All the plants died in an extraordinarily fast manner. And what we did then, we did exactly the same thing. We radiated the water close range with the same intensity of 5G. Then we took an Analemma wand, we swirled through it, we watered the next batch of plants, and all the plants thrived. So this is why this water is super important, because it brings natural harmonics
Yeah.
back.
Right. So is rainwater coherent in its natural state because it's
No,
coming from the sky?
no, no,
No.
it's
So
not.
rainwater, because with gardeners, it's all about collecting your rainwater because that's the purest water, but still that water is chaotic.
It's chaotic. If you don't treat it, it will just be the same as just to come back to that, we actually tested waters from all over the planet where as I mentioned, we found coherent water, but it was really like in the
Remote.
jungle somewhere. And not only that, when you take it out, very soon after you take it out, it goes back to chaos.
So, okay, so if I'm a human, humans drinking water, swirl it for 30 seconds. For my plants, am I filling my watering can and putting the Analemma wand in the watering can, making that water coherent and then watering? Or if I have a rain barrel water collection system, I can put the wand in the
Yes, you can put
barrel?
that whatever. You just need to swirl for a longer period of time. Just so you know, for that purposes, we created garden analemma, which
Yeah, what
actually
is
you
that?
can.
I noticed that on your website. Does it
Yeah,
connect to the hose?
it's connected to the hose. We really created it so that it's super simple. You just connect it to the hose, and you can use it in your garden. We created even a larger agriculture unit, so we can actually treat any kind of agriculture, kind of however big.
Greenhouses. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and not even greenhouses. We're really now working with large kind of companies because they realize that in
Right.
this day and age of climate change, they need something, first of all, whatever happens, that they're going to get the produce they want.
So it's interesting, the large ag are interested in the resiliency that is the effect, whereas home gardeners, like for me, yeah, resiliency is interesting, but also this idea of the vibrancy, like this
Exactly.
idea that if the water is vibrant and I water my plants with that, that tomato is going to have more life power, more vibrancy in it than
And
something
we
not.
prove that. So it's not
Right.
just nutrients.
Right.
We prove that the nutrient density is going to be much higher. The plant resilience is going to be much higher. And the key element of it, light. It has 200% more light. And
Wow.
when you consume that energy, then you're in, even if you did just that, even if you didn't drink the water, but if you would eat the produce that was grown with Analemma
With
water,
the water.
then all of this energy would end up in your cells. That's why we're so super uh, enthusiastic and we're super focused on changing the whole agriculture industry. So not just so that we revive the soil, because they're having problems,
Absolutely.
whatever they do to the soil, they just throw more chemicals on it and it really kind of produces nothing. And we proved that just by watering the dead soil, like destroyed piece of soil, for 2 months, we revitalized it to a point where you can grow anything on it. And from that moment on, you just keep watering it and it will stay vibrant.
Wow, this is so cool. I want to do one of your first houseplant trials. Like I'm thinking in my green wall, if I was to get the same plant, put them in two of my green wall containers, water one under the same lighting conditions if they're in the same position in my green wall, water one with my normal tap water and water one with Analemma. I'm kind of curious to see
Please,
what would
please
happen.
do. I'm super excited to see that. I just have to one thing. Keep
Yeah,
them apart because
apart.
this is the problem that we had early on where we kind of okay, you have this tomato plant here and 1 meter away another one, and this was like the control and the real thing. And we realized okay, we're not getting because the electrum the
They're two. Got it.
and then when we kind of split them apart by 10 or 15 meters, no worries, we got all of the results because everything is electromagnetic in nature.
Yeah.
And water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment. So if you put a positive source of energy close by, they're going to pick it up. So if you want to have the real experiment,
Make them
really
separate.
make them separate and then you will see.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
I'm telling you, so many people sent us, as I mentioned, the picture is worth 1,000.
100%.
And then when you see the differences, I'm going to share the latest experiment that kind of an experiment, but the latest thing kind of that happened. Me and my wife, we went to the seaside and our cleaning lady, actually, my wife is really into plants. So she
Hmm.
loves her flowers and she's really, they're her babies. So the cleaning lady actually took an orchid, beautiful orchid, and she placed it with zero water and the direct scorching sun in the kind of a winter garden that is all in glass, closed.
Okay.
So the temperature went crazy. I
Right.
wouldn't stay in that.
Fried it. Yeah.
I would be fried in 15 minutes of it. I wouldn't
Hmm.
want to stay there. And that orchid was there for 2 weeks. It was like shriveled.
Hmm.
And even though she kind of watered it with an lemon, you can imagine 2 weeks of that, and it was still kind of holding on. And the only thing that she did is she placed one wand because she loved that plant, and she placed one wand 2 weeks ago next to it. And I will show you the result. Please give me 30 seconds.
Oh, you're gonna get it? Okay, great. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm so
please, just a
excited.
second.
This is so fun. Whoa, it's bloom for
It
those listening.
bloomed.
It's blooming.
It's
Oh my gosh.
blooming. So the flower showed up. Can you imagine? And this was almost completely dead. You can see the analemma there, the crystal
There's the
wand.
Analemma wand.
And we're still keeping it. She's still keeping it there. But you can see this is
Wow.
and within 2 weeks the flower came out.
That's crazy.
It really is crazy. And I
Well,
mean,
it's
these are the
undeniable. It's
yeah.
undeniable.
And these are
Yeah.
the little things that really show you the power, incredible, first of all, nature is, and
Mhm.
how nature can regenerate itself if
Well,
you
and how
give it the
desperate
right.
And like nature is desperate for itself, right? This plant like
Exactly.
was desperate and it's showing you, give me what I need and yes, I will show you. And let me tell you, Mario, one of the biggest pain points of these listeners is how do I get my orchid to rebloom? So there you go. So, man, I could talk to you for another hour about this, but obviously, Analemma has these products. You guys have dedicated your life to, proving the coherence of water. So your main product is this wand that you buy with the
This
mother
is the
water.
the entry point because we wanted to create something which is really, really affordable for anyone and treat it like a gem.
Hmm.
If you don't break it, because it's delicate and you need to take care of it, but if you take care of it, it will create coherent water for you for life. So
That's
you don't even
crazy.
have to take anything else, just one. And we wanted our whole mission is to kind of make this technology available for any family on the planet
Hmm.
so that everyone can get and actually experience the benefits for themselves till the
Mm,
rest of their lives. The mission statement of our company is actually to make all bodies of water coherent
mm,
again. And
mm.
we developed this eco-friendly technology that we want to bring this to the governmental level. That's why we're investing so much into science, because we want to install our equipment into the wells of the biggest rivers.
Wow. Could you imagine? And that's incredible. And also for garden analemma people, so you can get the wand, but then there's also a garden hose attachment. So you can get the garden hose attachment.
Yes, that's the second thing for the gardens. You just put it on and you water your plants, and you're going to get the highest quality from any perspective, the highest quality produce you can actually get your hands on. And
Okay.
this is the thing to actually eat. And you're going to see and feel and experience what kind of produce comes out of this beautiful water. We actually have the third application, which is called the whole house Analemma, that you install in the piping system of your house. Then you don't have to swirl. Anywhere you open your faucet, you get this
And then you're
beautiful.
showering in it.
That's the key. Actually, if we have 3 minutes, I would just like to share. Yeah, because we actually did why it was so important for us, the whole house and Analemma. We actually connected to Hydrate Spa now, Lumati Wellness in San Diego, and my dear friend David Perez and Dr. Greg Lane. They have various equipment to measure various vitals, and they have the spa system where people can just come in and lay down in water in taking a bath for 20 minutes to 30 minutes.
Hmm.
And since we're 99% water, and we were thinking, and water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment, what would happen if people would lay down or take a bath in Analemma water for half an hour? So this was the study. We had 100 people study. We measured cardiac output, stroke volume, blood viscosity, and most importantly, heart rate variability of people before and after. Every single person in the study experienced improvement in every single marker, and the minimum improvement in heart rate variability that we saw, the minimum was 30%.
Because you're essentially making your whole body coherent.
Exactly. Your molecules are actually having a ball when you lay down in it and you just chill. And as I mentioned, this water is an electromagnetic phenomenon, and we are electromagnetic beings. So when you lie down and you just chill for half an hour, something really, 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 again, very tangible
I love a
happens.
bath. So can it be warm water? So can I
Yes,
put,
yes.
so then also because coffee obviously is water, can I put my Analemma wand in my coffee in the morning?
I would say, this is a delicate crystal. So definitely you can, but I would say that make the water coherent before you start to heat it up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the
Before
only
heating
thing.
it.
Before
Okay.
heating it, because you could do it even later, but if the coffee is very hot, we just don't want the one to break
Okay.
because it's very thin crystal. We didn't create it thick or anything. It's a really beautiful
Got
thing.
it.
It's a gem. So we just kind of always say to people, treat it like a jewel. Okay? Take care of it.
I love it. Where I'm sold. I'm going to start taking Analemma baths. I'm getting that wand. How long do you think I have to stir in a bathtub?
Well, I always say to the people, there is an easy way. There is a hack.
Okay.
So you actually put the wand underneath the flowing water. You just have
Okay.
to stay there until the bathtub is filled, but you're 100% sure that all the water is coherent. So you don't have to fill it up and then swirl for 20 minutes or half an
Great.
hour. You just
Done.
take it, and this is the way you're going to get exactly the same effect like you have a whole house system. Whole house system is a bit pricier, of course,
Hmm.
but if you can afford it, Just buy it, put it there. You don't have to think about swirling. You don't. Wherever you open your faucet, you get it. But if it's a bit too pricey for you, just with wand,
Do it this way.
just with wand, you can get exactly the same effect.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed. Well, where can everyone learn more about Analemma? I know your website, you have all your studies, obviously your products. You guys have created a coupon code for us for, I think, 10% off using code Growing Joy. So where can everyone find Analemma if they're interested?
So people can go to Analemma water, but I know that it's hard to spell it, so we just said
Mhm.
coherent-water.com.
Okay.
Everybody can spell that, coherent-water.com, and then they're going to be diverted to Analemma website, where I encourage people to jump if you want to follow our science, and we're going to be doing lots of things. Jump on a newsletter, and we're continuously sending and doing new things. So if you just want to follow our work, and follow us on Facebook. This is something I really kind of go into a lot of things and details and explain a lot of things on our social media as well. I'm telling you, this is such an extraordinary thing, and I'm super happy and grateful to be a part of the project. And when you witness all of these
Yeah.
amazing things happening, for me, I just want to do anything in my power to send the message in the right way so people can actually acquire it and actually have the benefit. And you know what? This is why we want to bring it to the governmental level. Wouldn't it be amazing that we, for instance, we go to the mayor of New York and we actually make the entire municipal water supply coherent?
I can't imagine. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it on that scale.
That's it. That's the goal.
How, I
Then
mean,
everyone will get it. It will take some time,
it'll take
but
time.
wouldn't it be amazing that you open your faucet and you actually get coherent water for everyone, everywhere.
I'm cheering you on. I'm cheering you on and rooting for you. Everything will be in the show notes. We've got a coupon code for you. I'm excited to get my hands on one and start experiencing it. And yeah, I thank you so much, Mario, for your time.
Thank you so much, Maria. It's always a pleasure, and thank you for bringing me so I can tell this story so that everyone can at least, they can start to realize there is something extraordinary about this very abundant element on the planet. There is magic in.
Magic. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Growing joy.